I hear a perfect British accent in you. So how would you define the current state of UK-China relationship?
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting subject. I think a lot of what UK is doing is just trying to play the middle person between America and China. And a lot of what they're doing is influenced by both America and China. And they're really stuck in between on who they want to please. So I think a lot of what they're doing with like the public stunts to back America, they're probably secretly actually backing China in the background and creating other deals to essentially make up for the deals that they've cancelled, such as Huawei. Um, so I think you know what, I think it's all a political game. I don't think it has a massive impact on consumers or economy uh, in the short term or even in the long term. I think it's okay. I think it's actually okay. It's not as bad as the media says, but it never is, right?
Arnold, you are the founder of Qumin, a digital marketing agency. You have expanded rapidly your team in Camden Town in London, in one of the most, hipster and cool areas in town. But your mission, your slogan is basically to open the world to China. So how is this going in the current, geopolitical environment?
Good question. I think it's going okay. So a lot of what we're doing now is try to focus on the consumer side in terms of creating content, as on top of what we do with helping business and brands. We feel like we have a responsibility to help people to understand, almost like, I guess, going one level further, rather than just helping businesses to create brands and propositions for the Chinese market. Vice versa, we also help a lot of Chinese companies to globalize as well. But we feel like it's almost our responsibility to also educate the general population on Chinese people, Chinese cultures. So we're doing a lot of that now on social media channels, where we're creating almost kind of media assets ourselves, but very focused. So we have media assets in China on Douyin that's helped to, it's actually called World Microphones. So everything we do is about helping Chinese people to understand global cultures and what people outside of China think of Chinese people, Chinese cultures, even Chinese products, and vice versa. On TikTok, we're educating people on Chinese cultures. It's kind of very basic stuff, because I guess the common denominator of people's knowledge on China is still quite low. So we're trying to start from the base and then kind of like scaling up that way. But that's really what we're passionate about. And I think we're quite lucky in the sense that we have such a great team to create content both in China and outside of China. And again, we feel like it's our responsibility to take advantage of that, of our resources and our talent and our awesome team.
Sure.
To help educate people.
Sure. So Arnold, give us an example of a Chinese company that are doing really well in the UK.
I gotta be careful what I say here. I think, let me think. I think someone like companies that's really doing really well. I think OnePlus is probably the best example of companies that's doing so well globally. Most people don't even know they're a Chinese business. And I think that's actually, it's interesting to say that, because I think that's actually a really good sign of how successful a Chinese brand is. Because if your marketing is so local and it's so well executed, and your branding, people shouldn't have to associate it with a specific country. And I think OnePlus is doing very well in that regard. In terms of products, I think DJI is probably one of my favorite companies.
Is it in the UK at the moment?
Sorry?
Is DJI in the UK at the moment?
Yeah. They're a global company. So we bought one of their drones recently, and it's amazing. The product, the technology is like light years ahead of any other competitors, and their stuff is really good. I think they could do more in terms of marketing and branding, but their products are really good. So if you're listening to
DJI, what marketing or branding would you add on top of what they have already?
I was going to say, if DJI is watching, hit me up.
Will, absolutely, for sure.
You will get a lot of new clients from the show today.
What would you add to their current strategy?
I think for DJI, I would focus a bit more on how their products can be used. not just with professionals, but also with enthusiasts and hobbyists as well. So being more focusing less on the product, which is I think what a lot of technology and especially Chinese brands do, and also Asian brands, but focus more on the lifestyle and create a movement, almost create a
It's like community building in the social
yeah,
media world, right?
yeah, create an intangible asset around your brand that's backed by amazing products, right? Like I think that's what we would do if we had the opportunity to do that.
There's still so much work to do on cultural awareness, training, and so on. When you take the Western side, what is something, like a key factor that they still get wrong, the Western brands, when they enter China? What is a failure that you often see?
I think for me, it's gotta be like understanding of people and cultures. Like there's so, honestly, I always say this, right? It's not the difference that people struggle with. It's extremity at which they're different. Like everyone understands Chinese culture is different or Chinese people behave in certain ways, but people don't understand how different it is and how drastic the gap is. Like, I mean, example, like most people know China is like a very collectivist culture, and it's very kind of family focused, it's very friendship focused, it's very state focused, whereas Western is more individual and independent. But people don't know how, like, just to what extremity that culture affects everyday behavior on the ground.
And it's just striking because you will have to, repeat yourself time and time again. And we've been saying exactly that for decades, right?
Yeah.
Shirley, I mean, it's always the same thing. We have to repeat this cycle, and it seems so hard for people to learn.
I think for us, I mean, that's why we started a lot of our media assets in and outside of China. We have a YouTube channel as well called 1T Media. So it's just started. But the idea is to just create a lot of content out there. So I think most people pick up their knowledge from the media. Before it was like obviously television, newspapers. Now it's like digital. I think the only thing we can do is just really keep trying to do more different types of content that's more, I guess, in the spheres of edutainment. So both educational and entertainment, rather than just saying to people like, this is different, show people why it's different and show people what it's like in China on the ground with people that are living the lives.
So talking about corporate globalization, China's still relatively young on that path of globalization. And I'm sure you saw the letter that Zhang Yiming, the founder of ByteDance, sent out to the employees. What's your general assessment of this letter?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very interesting subject as well, because I think a lot of people, especially in the West, and in China as well, like on social media, Chinese people are like in uproars. They're like, this is, we shouldn't be doing this. This is like selling the country out. It's like selling China out. But people need to understand that ByteDance has 60 different apps, 60 apps. So TikTok is like, well, it's less than 2% of their like entire portfolio. It's like nothing to them, right? Where I think most people compare ByteDance to Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. But we got to remember, Facebook only has 2 apps. LinkedIn has 1 app. Twitter has 1 app. Like ByteDance selling TikTok is incomparable to like Facebook selling Instagram, for example, right? So I think people are making a really big deal out of this. So we got to remember that ByteDance actually purchased Musical.ly for $1 billion like 3 years ago in 2017. And they merged with TikTok. And that's where a lot of TikTok's traction comes from in the West. So I think now that they're selling to Microsoft for maybe even 10 billion, they're essentially making 10 times their money in like 3 years. This is just a really good business opportunity. And finally, if I was ByteDance, I mean, unfortunately I'm not, but if I were, that would be awesome. But I think it's probably in their best interest to sell this foreign asset, because it's creating a lot of internal political problems for them with the China-US tension. So it might be better for them to focus on their domestic.
Right, but Arnold, particularly for that letter that Zhang Yiming sent out, the reason I make this comparison is because imagine if this were to happen to Microsoft. Their whole PR team, their whole global comms team, their board, I mean, everybody would be out there 24/7 talking about their positions on this issue, right? Chinese global companies seems to be extremely quiet and they don't really speak out for themselves. Do you think that's a very sophisticated approach to globalization? I mean, because inevitably
Yeah.
global companies are going to run into problems.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think maybe that's one of the difference between Chinese companies and global companies, whereas global companies always held accountable a lot more in their comms, corporate comms, where Chinese companies a lot less. So yeah, you're 100% right. I think I agree with you. There's a lot of things that Chinese company needs to learn before they can globalize. And I think you're right. That's definitely one of them.
And do you think that TikTok will be able to maintain its popularity, or do you think that it has already reached a saturation point? Which do you think is, the next big app that is coming from ByteDance, the whole ecosystem, or maybe another one that you're seeing on the horizon?
I think TikTok, I think we're still seeing the tip of the iceberg with short video platforms. I think TikTok is going to be much bigger than what we've seen at the moment. Because if you look at Douyin at the moment, their penetration in China is like insane, right? It's not just short videos, it's live streaming, it's live commerce, it's social, it's fully integrated social commerce. And TikTok hasn't done any of that just yet. So I think they have a lot of places to grow into. And I think the future of social media is uh, is around the idea of focusing on content rather than networks. So you don't need a network on TikTok, and that's one of the biggest differences. It's all about the AI engine.
And
And
it's so interesting that Facebook is now basically duplicating and copycatting what TikTok has been doing, right? So do you see a
yeah,
reverse trend that now the West is just, the copycat of China?
I know it's great. It's really great to
It's
see.
super interesting.
But I think you're talking about Instagram Reels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Instagram Reels is, I don't know. I feel like it's too little too late. I don't think it's going to catch on. I think innovation, like you see this historically for almost everything. Innovation doesn't come from status quo. It never comes from the people who are already winning. So I think the next big platform is not going to be from Facebook, not going to be from LinkedIn, not going to be from Twitter. So TikTok, I think, has a genuine chance of becoming like the next big social media platform.
And
And
the
I think
competition in China is driving a lot of that.
So talking
yeah,
about competition in China, what's the next big thing on Chinese horizon for global companies, you think?
ooh, it's a tough question. I think people should still keep focusing on short video platforms. Like I talk about this a lot. Like personally, so a lot of our channels, like our media assets are on short video platforms because we know that's where you can get the most bang for your buck in terms of your content investment. So I think, like honestly, I don't know what the next thing after TikTok is or Douyin in China, but I think that's because Douyin and short video platforms in China is still very, very new. We still got like another good 2-3 years before it becomes saturated. So if you're a brand, so imagine this,
Still
right? It's
have a 2 to
basically,
3 year shelf life.
yeah, exactly. No, at least, right? 2 to 3 years until it becomes saturated and then it needs to mature. So I think if you're a brand, think about like this, right? If you could invest in Instagram when it first came out, like 6-7 years ago, that's where TikTok is right now. So invest on it before it becomes saturated and you will be ahead of everyone else.
That's great investor advice. You'll get a lot of investors coming to you as well, not just digital marketing clients. Arnold, you also have a big new client in China, which is WeChat. You've launched this WeChat Insiders, a campaign where I'm happy to be part of, just as a disclaimer as well, joining you as a WeChat Insider. Tell us a little bit more about this concept.
Yes, so WeChat is like, we've always loved WeChat, right? We work on WeChat with our clients and we use WeChat a lot. We think it's probably one of the most innovative service design in technology for a long time, right? The whole idea of social operating system. Like if you look at operating system, like the Windows or iOS or OS X, at the heart of it is basically a kernel that hosts a number of applications. And if you think about WeChat, that's pretty much what it does. The biggest difference is that it has social at the heart of it. So the kernel is social, and then the social service hosts everything else. And that's revolutionary because the whole concept of operating system hasn't changed for like 5 decades or 4 or 5 decades. So this is the first time in like half a century that's changing. But I guess on the back of that, to answer your questions, that WeChat is now looking to globalize and make people around the world understand this change and what's coming in terms of technology, in terms of what they're trying to do to make people's lives easier as a technology business, as a service design provider. So what we really are trying to do is just to help like create organic traction, organic conversation around what WeChat is doing. And I think, Martina, what you're doing as well is like and also you as well, Shirley, a lot of what you guys do already, you guys are already talking about China a lot, already talking about technology, and some of that is already WeChat. So we just really want to, I guess, engage with you guys and help you to understand WeChat more and help everyone else understand WeChat more.
It has been so interesting with the coronavirus pandemic. WeChat has seen such a big boom. I mean, the whole ecosystem, right? With WeChat mini programs and WeChat work and so on. There are so many new sub applications now that one can use.
Yeah, exactly.
If I were WeChat today, obviously, I mean, the parent company Tencent as well, looking at what's happening to TikTok, I must be concerned myself. Yet, my understanding has always been that it's going to be an even more complicated case than TikTok, because TikTok is essentially firewall. There are two systems within one company. WeChat is one company, right? One app for all. And then if there were even a chance to say, well, you can divest a partial financial asset outside of China, if the US did request that, it would be virtually impossible for WeChat to do that, right? What would be the contingency strategy for the company?
I think you're right. It's definitely it's very worrying times for all Chinese companies. But I think WeChat has one advantage in the sense that compared to TikTok anyway, it's not really a content platform. So TikTok is a content platform first and foremost, almost 100% content platform, whereas WeChat is more of a service platform. So it's kind of like it facilitates conversations, obviously, first and foremost, which is private. And the second thing it does is it provides services, which it does mostly in China and not as much outside of China. So I think for them, it's less worrying because they're not a content platform, they're a service provider. So people, it has less of a data impact. So maybe that's why maybe that's why they're not as under the radar as TikTok is right now.
Mm-hmm. And Arnold, tell us a little bit about your team and your expansion plans, because I've been seeing the growth of your, startup, which is now such an established digital marketing agency. What's next for you?
Thank you very much. I think, like when you're in it, it never feels as fast as it can be, I'm super impatient, but
and it's not a job, it's like your dream coming true, so you realize that.
Exactly. Everyone at Qumin loves what we do. Like, we're passionate about opening the world to China, we're passionate about people and cultures globally and in China. So it honestly just feels like it does feel like we're just doing what we want to do, which is great, right? And I think for Qumin in the future, we really want to continue helping brands, but more, I guess, to fulfill our bigger purpose is, again, of opening the world to China, is to spend more resources and focus more on our media assets. So creating more content, creating more channels, working more on DaoInsights.com, but also really looking into technology as well. So we want to, like, one of our, again, going back to our mission of to China, we want to help Chinese creators to globalize. So we're right now working on a creator platform to enable creators who don't have mass followers but have a lot of talent to work with brands and show off their talent to the rest of the world. So
That is a great idea, Arnold. I'm sure there is such a huge market out there because Shirley and I, we've recently talked on Hey China, one of our shows, about the lack of cultural icons in China who are international, like Yao Ming, the basketball player, Lang Lang, the pianist. So in the creator space, obviously there's also such a big lack. Because of language issues, they cannot speak English, or because of the cultural component that they do not know how branding and marketing, outside of China works.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. And most of the time they don't even have the platform because they're so busy on doing what they do, like whether they're artists or photographers or skaters or basically in every industry, they're so busy and the platform is so unavailable to Chinese creators, and we want to create that platform. And when you work with a brand, it's not just for commercial reasons. It gives you that platform. It gives you the audience that you can access to show off your talent, your creations. Yeah, I think it'll be really cool.